Hello, I am once again back with a long overdue update for my NIE game. It was a simple matter of me reprioritizing and getting ahead on the second character without actually finishing up the first, which is now fully complete. The main thing that was done to do so was the mask was kind of just I didn't get around to doing it until much later. The second character is halfway animated, and we'll look at those animations as well. But first, let's just go ahead and start playing the game. As you can see, same setup as usual, same two health bars, still a lot of dev notes, which can at this point probably be turned off. It's like, yeah, block and true, sometimes that helps. There was a weird issue for a while where if you would block and then press attack, you would not be able to attack afterwards, but that was just a simple matter of moving where the do once loop on the attack function is. As of right now, you can attack once per zero point 0.3 seconds, which will eventually be adjusted, and as well as this projectile will be adjusted to more properly fit where your positioning is, per se, where your animations are. But we'll probably wait for the second character to be fully animated before I mess around with any code like that. Because as important as that is to actually having a real fighting game, it is not important to the game feature that I'm creating for my class. The matter of fact is that you change your resolution. It might be hard to tell right now, but our opponent has already gone down resolution. I think I'll get to a point where I actually just remove the normal maps and just the alternate colorations that exist on the hands, because right now it's still hard to tell. Boom, bop. So now we are down to vector, which all has the same animations. Walking animation, walking backwards animation, which is just the same animation but moving backwards in a reverse frame order. Same goes for the 3D version. Both of them have blocks with similar animations. Their jumps are just they're walking or whatever animation they're doing. I think it defaults to walk just because you have movement, and the walk, idle, blend space is all based on movement. I was starting to press back and forth like in Mortal Kombat to do an attack, but that's not how this works. Boom. Might be a little bit hard to tell, but there is definitely a tint on them in both the 2D form. Boom, high pixel form, blocking, walking, idle, attack, attacking the other one. There is also chip damage now, which I don't know if I portrayed that in a previous video or not, but as you can see from the health in the dev corner, it's going down by 1% rather than the 10% that's usually there. And now we are down to the second stage. The blurring happens randomly sometimes. It's only ever when it gets to the lowest stage, though. So once you get out of the blocking, go back to normal, it resets itself and it never happens again. So idle, blocking, walking, attack. And that is all the animations. And it is also set right now to where if a character dies after about I think either zero point 0.3 or zero point 0.5 seconds, it resets the level. And of course, there will hopefully be a character menu soon once the second character is done, assuming I have enough time to finish that before the presentation for this assignment. Because as awesome as that is and as helpful it is, I still need to figure out a way to get the game instance to communicate with the rest of the game. Because it is still the same situation. Let me on F11 this. We can look at character tests again. So construction script has new stuff, of course, because we have our second character finally done. And it's also already set up to where it's going to do the sequences. Character E is already down here too. It's very minimal stuff. It's just setting the 3D mirror and the mesh. So make sure that sphere 3D is none. And the mesh is set to character E higher, which unimportant for right now because we've got to more talk about character I because a lot of what's here is going to be repeated. So we have a lot of Boolean branches. So is sphere, is character I, is character E, eventually is character N, but that will be far and beyond from this project for the sake of school, but that's going to be more me continuing it afterwards. So for character I, is character I, if it's true, boom, we go ahead. Sphere 3D is set to none. Mesh is set to I character 3D higher. The mesh is set to an animation blueprint that is for it. The movement character speed is set to 450 rather than the 600 base that it normally is. Is player 2 gets you to all your tints. If it's false, there's this slight gray tint on the vector character, lower pixel, and higher pixel character, just so they're not as bright, because they're very bright otherwise. Without this, they kind of are blinding to the player. And then this is doing a different tint if you are not, well, if you are player two. And then for player two, you also have a lot of just this. There's probably a way just to create a instance loop for however many textures there are, though. It's fairly easy just to be like, hey, get the mesh, get the element index, source material. We don't really need to worry about that just because it could be anything. Get our color parameter, set the color parameter, which is our tint for 3D materials. And then you do that for all of the materials, which in this case, ooh, is actually not going on the last one then. For that's interesting. Guess I missed one. So what does that bring us to? Does that actually visibly change the character a lot? It might have made the hands black. It's hard to tell. Because also there is a teeth texture, though you don't see the teeth anymore, nor the face. If we go into character test, we can look at the view, well, not viewport. Of course, this is what the character would normally look like with all its beautiful texturing. But as you can see, these eyes and everything are fully covered. There might be an option later, right? Make A. Because right now, okay, so here's what the way that's working. Here's the way we're adding the mask. The way we're adding the mask is on the event begin, we do a mask check, which is a custom event. Mask check. It checks if your character eye. We can eventually set this to where there's two booleans in a row, well, two branches in a row, where is character eye? Sure, yeah. Is it masked? And this would probably have to be something in character selection, which we could set up here, and of course it'd be really easy. But then you'd also have to create a new animation for all the 2D versions, which is basically just me going back into Photoshop and deleting the mask or hiding the mask on each individual frame. So it would take a minute, but it's very possible and relatively easy to do, just tedious. The point is, it checks this character eye. You go into spawn actor, which in this case is spawning the BP actor mask, and it's getting the socket name from the mesh, being I underscore character underscore mask, returning that value to the spawn point. We are setting it to a variable just so it's easy to mess with because we also need the mask to go from a higher LOD to a lower LOD because there is a higher LOD 3D and a lower LOD 3D. And then we get the parent name, which is mesh, and you make sure it's I underscore character underscore mask again, and then you snap target, snap target, snap target, weld simulated bodies, and boom, you're good to go. You have a mask. If you change this to like something like I don't know, is character E just for sake of argument, just blah. I think okay, cool. It wasn't connecting both of them. So boom, all of a sudden you don't have a mask. Boom, boom, and it does make it a bit more obvious when you actually go down to resolution because as you can see, there's a lot less detail on the face. Ooh, we could also talk about the rotation that exists now. Ooh, I got my characters messed up for a second. Which one was which? But then you get this issue where it's trying to access static mesh. I know why. Okay, that one is very simple because the character is supposed to be masked. That is just a thing, right? So if we delete that, we'll be able to play again and we'll have no issues. Boom, 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 boom. That makes sense for a similar situation I had before when I accidentally had the check mask at the end of the code rather than at the beginning of the code. But if you go over to here to the change face, once again, a bunch of branches is sphere. If that's false, go to is character I. If that's false, you'll go down to character E and then character N. But if it's character I, you get a lot of stuff, which just kind of changed around from what the sphere is. So gets the lower pixel, higher pixel, vector character, and mesh. Sets their new visibility to none. 0.2 seconds, it makes them visible, which this is just when you get hit, you bloop bloop back into existence. And the reason why you see there's a line going farther away, so is blocking. This will make it to where if you're blocking, you won't disappear. You'll still take the damage, of course, and this will still all occur. You'll still not skip any of the visibility changes of your actual mesh. So you'll go straight to the branch of checking, hey, are you 80% or lower, which will then change your mesh to the 3D lower version. And then, of course, you set the static mesh of the mask to a lower mask as well, which it should already be. iMask underscore mask. Yeah, so it's I character mask, iMask. So it could probably be changed to be a bit more in line with the higher one, but once you get to 60%, it's checking the mesh. It's making that none, and it could also and maybe should also be doing that for the blueprint, but it doesn't seem to be doing that at the moment. So that could be something to worry about, unless we attach hitboxes to the skeleton. So that could be useful. But the important thing is, since it's not actually animating something, I don't know if it's taking up enough power for it to really matter. Though I could easily turn off the blueprint as well. Then we set the static mesh to none. This is being eye mask, target mask, just making sure the eye mask, which is why we made it a variable. So you could easily grab it out and just go, wow, pull it out. And then you get paper ZD vector I, and you set that instance blueprint since we are using paper ZD to animate within Unreal for 2D, and then 40% is making that to none for paper for the vector. Then you get the vector character, make its visibility none, just to double down on it. Because, yeah, there's no point actually once you're already making it none, but well, why not? It doesn't hurt anything. And then you get paper ZD pixel, make that into its blueprint. Once you get to 20%, you get that, you make it none, and you get the higher pixel, which is still no visibility, and then you make the lower pixel, and boom, you bring that to its lowest point. And then once you're go all the way over here, there's a branch for is health less than or equal to 0? If true, you get a duration of 0.5, and then you load the level right now, which would otherwise be probably more a UI screen for, do you want to play again? Character selection, go to the main menu, quit the game, that kind of thing. Probably not quit the game, that's probably more an option from the main menu or just somewhere else other than just the game itself. I guess it could be within the match because there's not going to be much else to this game at the moment, but there's going to be a list of options. So travel URLs, that's interesting actually. All right. Next piece of code that we have to talk about that's new is the spinning code. This other rotation fix and rotation fix. We want the mesh to be more dynamic, so we have the mesh being more angled towards towards you, the player, so you can see more of their detail rather than them just being straight horizontally forward. So they can kind of match the angle that the 2D art is done in. And this will set it to 250 and -80 respectively. If we open the level blueprint, this is where it's the same one as we've had for a long time, where this is the whole camera tracking and then checking rotation. And then if the rotation is basically if they're on either side of each other, they'll flip to face each other. And now we have rotation fix, other rotation fix, other rotation fix, and just connecting that to the correct character target player index 0 and player index 1 on either side. So just connecting that around, you could probably clean up the code a little bit more visually, though honestly spaghetti code kind of works in this instance. For this, we might be fine just going to the animation. Self-dashing is once again a feature we tried to implement, but I just don't feel like it went well with the game, at least not with the way that I had it working. Still dash action stuff, okay. But for player 2, probably. What are you? No health, disable movements. Once again, still something in action, but not something really needed anymore since you have the death. Also we figured out how to disable inputs much easier, but I don't know if we really use that much anymore because it also the way we found it is disable movement, which would also disable your constant going back and forth, which is really important for this game so you can take damage, which is why we still have this flip-flop of you moving slightly forward and slightly backwards. If we go into character I, you've already seen all the animations, but animation source has all the various animations in it. I am curious if I change these to translucent if they'll look better, because that's something I noticed for other stuff with the other character. Then again, the other character has actual transparency to them. So you bring in your whole texture sheet, you extract the frames, and then you bring it over here. So I am going to test this real quick. I don't think it'll actually matter much for this character. Oh. For instance, these frames are masked on lit. Oh no, they are translucent. Okay, copy. Right, because we made a faster version just to skip some frames to make it better. So if we zoom in on our character, and then we paste this here. I don't see any differences in here. There might be a difference more in the game, but I'll see if character E looks more polished than character I with how the graphics work. And if so, then I will actually go around to making all the animations translucent rather than the masked on lit. And then we'll go ahead and look at the Paper ZD anim graph, which is just the same thing as our other version. We actually added some new stuff, but it's the same across our 3D animation blueprint as it is here. So with the new stuff added, of course. So you get is valid, get owning parent, cast a character test. You get the is blocking, the set is blocking. You get the attacking set is attacking. You get velocity, you get active rotation, because now that we have rotation, we have to basically also do all these things where you're checking if velocity is greater than 0, and if it is, we're setting walk direction. And this walk direction variable is what's creating your animation going either forward or backwards when you're walking. And these rotation values are, of course, if it's equal to 180, that's important just for the sake of knowing which way you're facing because you rotate around 180 degrees, even though the mesh itself is not doing 180 degrees. The character blueprint is. The mesh within the character blueprint is just kind of rotating in its own special way. But yes, these set the walk directions because these are the only two variables we need. Boom, anim graph, state machine, locomotion, walking idle, blocking, and attacking. For 2D, it's actually a bit more interesting because you have to create this animation by bool rather than a blend space. So walk direction, character high walk, character high idle. Once again, this is the high pixel version. We just happen to get on animation output. And you can see get owning actor, get velocity is greater than 0, is less than 0, select value. If that value is true, you get the walk direction and you play our walking animation. If it's false, you play idle. So basically, if you're just not moving, play idle. It's very simple. It just looks more complicated in this version. And then you get is blocking as a connection point to blocking, which then you'll play the blocking animation, which just continues to loop until you're not blocking. Very simple, cool not. Then you go back to walking, and then you go to attacking. Hey, what didn't you know? It is attacking. And then is attacking, the only important thing is it only plays once. The loop animation is turned off. And then to get out of there, you simply go time remaining, in this case 0, because we want to play the whole animation. We don't want to skip frames at the end, because there's already very few frames to show, because it's a 2D animation rather than a 3D. Back to locomotion, and that is it. The animation blueprints are very, very simple. Maybe even more simple in this version. We go back to event graph. Yeah. That's what the blueprints look like. But let's just go look at character I. Well, character E, because you already looked at all the animations in game, so there's no point in me going over all of them again. Though you could get into a funny situation like the vectors being as huge of images as they are. Like this attack. Oh my goodness. So many freaking pixels in this because I made these all just 2048 per frame. So very huge to get the frames extracted and everything. But Unreal still handled it very well. It took a lot longer than other things where by that I mean like maybe I was sitting there for like 30 seconds while it was extracting or changing its pivot point to bottom center rather than center center. Because you'd do this, you click, you'd get asset. Maybe I click an animation, so let me just make sure it's only sprites. Create a flipbook, which is how you create animations. And then the where is it? It's in asset actions. The whole bulk edit via property matrix is really useful for editing all the frame driven points at the same time. But let's go ahead and look at character E. So 3D, we have a couple models in here. Skeletal mesh, this is the higher one. Once again, obviously not actually textured yet because he's going to be a blue and green character. For some reason, both characters are green. So that was just my bad. because the other one's red, kind of more of a zombie character. This one just happens to wear green, but is mainly blue. And then lower, which is honestly a lot more visibly lower than I think it is for the bug character, which they also have their own mask, being this lens, which have a higher and lower version, which will be attached to their face as well. Though this will be a bit more see-through, so you'll actually just still see the character's face most likely. And then for attacks, we currently have our attack, which we split into two attack animations: attack left and attack right. If I can get it to click. So basically finger guns because it's a zoning character. And then just kind of playing both of them, you go boom, 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 boom. And that's where that attack animation's at, so which had to be split into two. If we go back, idle animation. Yep, there it is. So idle animation, just kind of chilling there, floating. He's going into the earth for some reason, so that needs to be fixed. But other than that, he will be fine. Which I'm not sure if it's just doing that because of the game engine or what the deal is. If we look at this one, yeah, this one's kind of maybe slightly going into the earth, but it's mainly just staying in place still. So it might be more a matter of me accidentally moving the character below the baseline in Maya when I animated the character. And then we look at 2D, which has a bunch of stuff. Look at same situations. Attack left, boom, 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 boom. Attack right, boom, 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 boom. And then the whole animation sequence, which I don't think I actually did because I just for this one you have to be more specific, you have to grab your exact frames and then make a flipbook. So there's no point in me making a flipbook of both when I want them to be separate animations. It's basically gonna be when you press attack animation or attack button, you'll get a random one of the two. So it's gonna be random, which boom, 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 boom you get. I think we just did higher pixel, but we didn't look at idle, so higher pixel idle. Just that whole finger up and down thing that's important. That's like one of the main things left, plus the little head bob. Lower pixel, attack left. Once again, obviously, translucent is very important for this because this character has actual translucent parts. Attack right, just the other finger, boom, 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 boom. And all of them are the exact same frames, but vector is double the frames, and we'll get to them in a second. And then the idle, once again, the whole finger up and down. It's a bit harder to tell since this one has a lot of detail for a character. So going 32 pixels by 32 pixels is actually really weird for this specific character. In reality, it's 36 by 36 because I expanded it to give more room for the glowing parts. And then we go with vector. We have, once again, attack left and attack right. And then we have our idle. And once again, the whole finger situation. And that is where the game is at right now. These have not been put into an animation blueprint because the character is still in progress. We still have a walk animation and a block animation to come with it. The block animation is probably going to be the most complicated one in the game so far, besides the fact that the attack just has two, because it's going to be, I'm trying to get like a more of like a weird JoJo pose where it's like boom, both arms are kind of moving in position with, I mean, which might mean I have to create actual new drawings for each of the versions just to have their arms in those specific positions, which I normally have not had to do. I've been doing a lot of puppeteering animation. With the character E, I did have to create a different version of the finger being up rather than just forward. And then for character I did have to create a version where the hands were like up. I created other ones where it was like backwards too, but that one was kind of easy, just more a matter of flipping it and everything because the cord like that was already made for the attack because I needed it. And I made a backwards version which is used for the block. So once again, with proper use of characters, this is where the game is at right now. Ah, ah. Attack animations are way overranged right now. Boom, boom. Yeah, if you move backwards with it, you can run into some funny situations. Though it doesn't seem that only it seems to only happen when you're actually a 3D character. So interesting to see the higher pixel version right next to the lower. It's like I am you, but with thicker outline. Wah, 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 wah. And that is where NIE is at currently. In other words, resolution deterioration. Thank you so much for watching, and for the next update, I will have the second character done, which will be the final character for the sake of the assignment purposes, though there will still be a third character coming at the very least. Plus, I've been vesting a little bit of interest for adding more characters, with the next one afterwards, after N, would likely be M, and would be a character kind of based off Guts from Berserk, and its main gimmick would be when it attacks, if it gets hit as it attacks, it does more damage. And that's where I would be at with that. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day.